All right, let's get this going today. Another episode of More Than a Mortgage, and gosh, it is freezing cold here in the city, and we have a guest that is not used to this. I don't think he needs very big introduction here today, but we're joined today. Tom Merritt and I are joined today with one of my all-time greatest coaches. I'd say probably my number one, and you probably say this too, mentor over the course of the years in the mortgage business in general, just in life, mortgage, you name it. He's probably one of the best people that I know in the industry, and we're just lucky that he finally made his 10-year appearance. Well, you got Chicago. It's like cicadas. Like every 10 years he comes back, and he always says, "I'm never coming back in January," and lo and behold,
we're in January.
Yeah. So, without further ado, one of the things we're going to talk about today that I'm super excited about, and there's a lot of buzz out there about right now, is something that Todd created, Jolt Mortgage Marketing Company, and it was where we're all cooped up in
COVID
land, trying to figure out like the next big invention that this world was going to tackle. Todd was twiddling his thumbs and figuring out a program that was going to help people survive, I guess you would say, Todd. So tell us a little bit about the program.
Well, it's some reference to all that. First of all, it's great to be here. I am wearing long johns for the first time in my life with dress clothes. I was checking in last night, and after we had dinner, and the guy checked me in and said, "Hey, I see you're from California. Tomorrow, don't be outside longer than 10 minutes. You will get frostbite." And I was like, okay, that's different.
Not used to that?
Yeah, not used to that. But hey, I was golfing yesterday in California, so it's a little different. I believe, so all this starts with the belief that if someone made enough contacts, they would always do better in sales. Matter of fact, years ago, I had a coach for 6 months, and that's all he trained on was how to make more sales contact. And he had all these studies. So he did it not just for mortgage and real estate, he did it for pharmaceutical sales. He's from Australia, and he just traveled around the world teaching sales forces how to gain more contact and more appointments. So that stuck with me. I remember when I was a kid, my dad ran it was a vending machine business, and he was a distributor. And I woke up every morning because some of his clients were East Coast. He would start at 5 a.m. and he would go till 2 p.m. and he'd be out of the phone just making dials the whole time. And so, I'm a little kid in this little chair he had in his office, and I'm eating Lucky Charms, just listening to Dad, and he'd hang up the phone and dial the next one, and then when he got something on the phone, I heard his, how he got him hooked, and it was just my experience, 6 years old until I was 18, listening to that. Wow. And so when I got into mortgage, I thought, I'm just going to make a bunch of contacts like Dad did. And I didn't know it at the time, I think I had a very unique upbringing where he used to say things like, "Hey, all that matters is that you make contact." Right? So I had all these experiences. So then founding the core and then coaching over 5,000 people in 21 years, you see people and they made a bunch of sales calls and then they stopped. And then they made a bunch of sales calls and when I say they stopped, I mean, every single person stopped. It just was almost impossible for somebody to keep up the cadence because they would get busy. Maybe something happens in their personal life. Maybe a bad market comes and their confidence goes down. This myriad of things happen. And it happens to me, it happened to everybody. But then a third kind of mentor on this is when I first started in mortgage 33 years ago, I sat next to this guy, and he was 2 years in the business, and he was closing 10 loans a year. And I was like, "Hey, how do you do that?" Like, I needed attachment to somebody. So like I made him my best friend. I'd bring him coffee. I asked to go on some sales calls with him. So we wrote sales calls, and he said, "Well, I sit down every single morning and I make calls for 2.5 hours, and I get 2 or 3 appointments, and that's my day the next day." And I just thought, that's so simple. And so I copied him, I actually copied the script. Like I just he had one script and we just made calls. And so my 13th month in the business, I closed 10 loans. And I remember photocopying my paycheck stub, and I took a thought marker and I put on it, "Dad, I did it!" Exclamation point, and faxed it to him. Well, my dad calls me at home that night and he says, "Son, did you really make that much money?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Is that for the year?" I said, "No, that's for a month." And he's like, "Holy, can you cuss on this button?" Yeah. And I said, "Yeah, Dad, and I'm not even that good yet. Like, I'm just getting warmed up."
Just wait.
And so anyway, then go Pat, we get into COVID, and the industry did 8 years worth of loans in 2 years. That's kind of how the stat played out. So I'm like, okay, after this is not going to be good. This is going to be, you're going to have to be really good at sales. And so I'm like, at the same time, I created this vision for the company. I had turned 50, and I'm like, 50 is a big change for, you guys aren't there yet, but it does, you do change how you start to look at things. And I was like, what do I really want? Let's say I do this for 15 more years. What is exciting to me? And what I came up with was, I'm going to develop a company that has 250 loan officers closing 10 loans a month. Very sexy, never been done, and I had no idea how to do it. But all these things were running in parallel in my brain. And so I started challenging people. I'm like, hey, how could we get how could we take a 3, 4, 5 loan officer and get him 10, right? That really was the last few years thought process. And so we did all these experiments, and I created this management or this leadership team of 4 people, and we just started working on it. And the first thing I did is I'm like, hey, we got to make a bunch of calls, and then we'll use Calendly, and we'll say, okay, Mike, you've got 5 openings this week. We're going to fill those 5 openings. And the first stage was, hey, we're just going to take the top 5% of realtors, and we're going to call them and set appointments, right? The ones that didn't buy sites. And so we did that. And then later on that last year in 2025, we started calling past clients, which honestly, we talked about last night. I didn't really think it would work that well because everyone's got, I think the stat is, just the rough stat is like almost 80% of people in America have 3% rates, roughly. I mean, it's something like that. So, but we started calling them, and they're like the story one of you guys told last night, or you told me. Yeah. You're like, hey, I just bought a house, but my brother needs to buy a house. And then they referred you to the sister, and like you did $1.5 million in loans, because the guy, right? Yeah. So we added past clients. Now we're adding financial clients. Because I think some loan officers, first of all, they're not called on them. They have 200-300 clients, and we developed this presentation, like, here's why you would refer me loans. And there's really 4 major reasons that a financial planner would refer you. And so we're starting that process. And then later this year, we're doing consumer direct, because I think there is a big opportunity. And again, we were talking about it last night, where people are more apt to maybe to get on a webinar about something, how to buy a house, first-time home buyer, veterans, cash out refis. I mean, you could pick almost any niche and get 40 or 50 on about 50 people in a webinar that'll lead to 2 or 3 closings. So I'm very excited about that. And we could take that idea and now offer something to our top realtors and say, hey, I'm going to give you 2 or 3 referrals a month that are actually going to close. I've already qualified them, right? And they're motivated.
So that's definitely flipping the script, right?
Well, it flips the script, but it step back for a minute, and you think about what is the value that companies are giving a consumer. Okay, if you think Amazon, we all use it. We use it because it's fast, easy. It's not necessarily cheap. It's about the same, I think, is so it's not a price thing. It's just a convenience thing. But it's such a value that they've created one of the most valuable companies in the world. You look at ChatGPT, even though most of us are still using it as a search engine, we don't have to go to 6 different websites. We just go to one, and it gives us an answer that's usually pretty correct, right? And so it saves us time, and we can learn a lot through it. And so so you take that as a loan officer, what is our value? Well, I don't know. We were talking about these stats last night, but effectively, in my mind, about 70% of loan officers, they may have maintained their license, but they're not really active. They're doing like 4 loans a year. So for the 30% of people that are left from, say, 4 years ago, what is the value that we're offering either a past client or a realtor client, or financial plan? Like, what is why, other than you're a good dude and you've been doing loans for 20 years,
So,
what is it? People want more than that. And if you don't have an answer for that, I think because our standards are, what we're looking for is like, we want more. And what is that extra?
yeah.
Otherwise, you're just
Commodity, and it's just there's no differentiation, and so they figured out on their own.
yes.
Well, I think one of the things that I've loved about the program, there's a number of things I could comment on, but you just said a second ago, like, I think one of the biggest downfalls that we see in our industry is that the lack of follow-up is very transactional. We all say we want to be in relationships, but we're not, because we get that deal done and they love us, and their clients love us, they love their experience, and they never talk to us again. And so, one of the things that I can comment on personally, and what you were just talking about in that specific deal, was it's an opportunity for us, like, most of us are programmed to go after the low-hanging fruit. Like, what's going to be the most beneficial for my time to make these phone calls to where, I'm going to make money, and that's kind of how we're all wired, right? Whereas, like, what Joel's done for me personally, and Tom can vouch for this as well, but it's getting back in touch with the people that I truly enjoyed working with, but I probably would overlook it because it's not the low-hanging fruit. In actuality, it is kind of the low-hanging fruit too, because anybody that bought 20, 21, 22, those guys are all doing something right now, or they've got a lot of equity in their homes and they're thinking about making a move or cashing out, paying off debt. There's a lot of opportunity, but I think just me getting back in touch with people has been the biggest blessing that I've felt of.
Well, we've always talked with helping agents and working together with them, if you will, or other clients for that matter. And one of the biggest opportunities is the database or the past clients. But the reality is nobody stays in touch and nobody does it. Yet these are the people that know, like you, and trust you. You've already done all the work, if you will. It's just you're not staying in front of them. And so for us, or for anybody, that category in and of itself is phenomenal because it takes care of that. On the flip side, with reaching out, I know personally for me, one of the biggest things with COVID and mortgage Disneyland, as we called it, is you got away from the basics. You got away from what you did, and that was continuing to build and grow the relationships. And instead, we just sat back and, whether it be answered the phone or got referrals from the people we were currently working on, as opposed to actually developing the business. And so this program has enabled me personally to get back into the trenches, get back into working with, talking to people, and just honing the craft and realizing and recognizing what needs to happen in order to build the successful business that you want.
Well, and the other thing too is just get back into having a full schedule.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, for those of you out there listening to us today, I mean, if you don't understand what we're talking about, Jolt was designed to fill some gaps that loan officers, and I think eventually it'll trickle into like realtors, have a big struggle filling, and that's follow-up. Like, we're very good during the transaction in most cases. We're very good at keeping in touch and updating people, but where we fail, and I think where we lose a lying opportunity over the course of our careers, is we've got these big databases that don't get touched.
I'd say proactive
touches, right? Exactly. So I think that's where what Jolt does is they fill that gap for us. They make phone calls for us. They set a calendar appointments for us. And for me, like, coming off of like rates jumping up into the 7 and 8s, it was like deflating. And then you look at your calendar and it's not full, and you're like, gosh, man, this business is a jerk thing work. But when the calendar's full, you got something that it fires you up. It fires you up. You got something to look forward to every day, and it just gives you that like sense of energy that I love about this business.
Yeah, I talked to one client, and I've had a lot of these conversations where she said it this way. I was called her, and this particular loan officer been in the business 6 years, And she was doing, when she started the program, she was doing 3.2 loans a month on a 12-month average. The last 6 months, she's averaged 8.75.
Wow.
So she's really like almost tripled her volume. And I said, man, what's different? And she says, I just feel different. I said, explain that. She says, Todd, prior to Joel, I would come in and I might have 1 or 2 loan apps for the week, a sales meeting, a pipeline meeting, and a lunch. So I might have like 5 meetings. Now I come in on a Monday and I've got 5 loan apps. I've got 4 meetings with top realtors. I've got 1 meeting with an investor. I've got 1 meeting with a top financial planner and all my other normal meetings. And so I've got like 18 meetings. Right, so I went from 5 meetings a week to 18 meetings, and I just feel confident.
I mean, I think the other side of it too is like, because I work with my students, I coach. It's just it forces you to get organized on your calendar too, and I think that's like the biggest struggle that we as salespeople have is like we're just not very organized. And so you worked with me with this for years, but it forces you to have blocks. It forces you to follow a calendar and a schedule. And that in itself, I mean, it gets you energized. It amps you up.
Well, I think that the other, just to take this a different direction, if you look at how good, let's say the servicers are or direct consumer is, they're getting a lot better at contact. They're getting a lot better at sales. And so if you think about a individual loan officer, which is how our business works, Joel kind of makes that person know a team. Like there's a team of people getting you a place. There's thousands of emails going out a week. There's texts going out on your behalf. You know, there's all this back end support. The loan officer is the front person, but they have a team and it, for the longest time for me, when I was a loan officer, you know, I would want to do all these things, but we were just busy doing the day-to-day stuff. You get a lead, you got to take care of it. You got a closing, someone's appraisal comes in low. You got to deal with all those issues, and there's just not enough time. So what happens is you have a loan officer, even if they're pretty good, and, you know, they're doing 2 loans a month in 160 hours a month. And you're like, dude, what are you doing? And they can't really answer the question. Well, they're trying to spin a bunch of plates, but they spin so many plates that nothing really works. And so it's a very focused marketing and sales effort for the individual loan officer and just puts a lot of gasoline on their business. And that's the whole point.
So and that's another component we haven't even touched on. Like Joel also manages the marketing aspect of the LO as well. So now, picture everything that we've talked about, follow-ups, making contacts, setting appointments, setting calendar. It's no wonder there's that roller coaster ride of production that you see out there in the industry. Joel takes it a step further and requires you to do, 3 videos a week? And for those of you that are comfortable doing videos, it's another opportunity to build that confidence up. We work with you on making those videos, topics that you can put out there for content, and then they handle it all for you. So you're literally taking your videos that you do, which, I don't know, you just put your camera on a tripod, film the video, upload it to a Dropbox, and then Joel gets that out there into the universe for you so that you're constantly being seen. So we haven't touched on that, but that's a whole nother component.
Well, it is a component. So I'll touch on that. I was probably the worst hater of social media. You know, I have a 15-year-old daughter. And I see what it does, and it does the comparison and all that stuff. But then, you know, we start this process, and one of our leaders, Kaylee, says, who's worked in social media for 12 years, and she's like, you got to do this. Yeah. I'm like, I don't want to do it. She's like, you got to do it. So I just did it because I'm coachable. Like, okay, I'll grind through it and do it. And here's because I think a lot of people are stuck there, right? And I was stuck there. But here's the realization now, 2 years later, and I've got, just for context, maybe between all the social media programs, we track all this on a report, but I think it's about 25,000 followers, but like 23,000 is my target audience. Like it's loan officers, it's branch managers, 30. And so we've done a good job curating that. But now I look at it and I'm like, look at, I'll do a post and it'll go to these different sites and I might get 8,000 impressions and they might be 1 second to 5 seconds each impression. But if you add all that up from a math standpoint, you're like, I just had 3 hours of sales meetings. You know, I just got 3 hours to present to 100 people or 8,000 people. And it really shifted my mindset because I'm like, okay, I can do this. People can get to know you and a little bit. And that way, when you call them, they're more open to the meeting because they feel like they know you. Even for me, if I follow people on social and someone were to call me, I do feel like I kind of know them, even though I've never met them. And that's the sales approach that we're taking with social. It's not to sell mortgages online. It's so that people get to know you or you stay in touch with them a little bit better. And it really does work. We see people that have good social presence, and I'm actually, my team's working on this report now, but I think it's going to show that we can get people about 40 to 50% more appointments when they have a decent social presence. And it doesn't have to be for that long. Like it could be a few months. I think, you know, in the mortgage industry, in real estate, you're talking about, okay, the industry really took us a landslide. We're, you know, the worst market we've seen since the 80s. Okay. That's a factual statement. But there's also consumer and client shifts that have happened. And one of the ones that people don't know of and they haven't researched is about 67%, this is the latest stat, 67%, whether it's a past client, whether it's a realtor, they will either check you out before they contact you or just after.
Interesting.
And I know this to be fact because I do a lot of interviews. Rob and I do about 40 loan officer interviews a month. Hardly ever do they not bring up my social or a podcast or somehow where they know me from those kind of digital marketing. I had one guy, a $50 million producer in Miami, tell me last Friday, he said, Todd, I've watched over 100 hours of you.
Wow.
It's an honor to talk to you. Never talked to a guy in my life. So he's like, I've just followed your podcast. I followed your social. You know, he knows the name of my kids, you know, so that's a big leap when it comes to trying to develop rapport with someone who's 3,000 miles away.
We'll take it one step further. And, you know, obviously you're out there and you're interviewing 40 a week, whatever it is. I know for me personally, and similar to you, I don't think there is anybody who dislikes social media more than myself, but I have people coming up to me that I am acquainted with it, and they're like, oh my God, you're all over. You know, and they start to see you and recognize you. And so whether it's an icebreaker or whatever it is, we are reaching people that we didn't even recognize or know that we were reaching, even so far as some of my kids' friends, or, you know, you start getting follow requests from me. Yeah, that's the goal at the end of the day. But it's just, I don't think anyone until they do it can comprehend the outreach or the effect that it has, because if you don't do it, then it's not something that you deal with.
I think your point is there's a lot of spider webs. So I'll tell you kind of a fun, quick story. My son is his second year in college, Travis, and he texted me last Tuesday. He says, Dad, he's been working on this business with 3 buddies in his fraternity. And I kind of know a little bit about it. They started the corporation, you know. I didn't really think it would go anywhere, right? He says, hey, we want to present to you. We've got all of our investment deck done. We've got all this done. Would you jump on a call? So I said, I got time at 5 o'clock. So we're in the call for an hour and a half. These kids present, like they're getting ready to search for an angel investor. And they've actually got a very cool concept. And I gave them some pointers that they really appreciated, but it was very well done. So the reason I tell you that story is all those kids, and I didn't realize this till I was on this podcast, they all follow me on social. So they all are talking to me like they know me. Most of these three other gentlemen that he's working with, I've met them once or twice for like 10 minutes. But, I feel like I know them because Travis talks about them, but they know all about me. So I get on this, so I have like this credibility that they're like, hey, you've built this business and you've done this. And I'm like, I'm sitting there, I still get mystified sometimes. How do they know this? Where'd you go on my life story? No, they're following me on social. They listen to my podcast.
Yeah.
And so where does that go? I don't know. Maybe it goes nowhere, but I'm a little bit closer to my son's friends.
Yeah.
Because we now have this little bit of social contact.
Yeah. Well, where does that go? And bringing this full circle with Jolt, that goes to then when you do make that outbound call, or that, whether it is a past client, whether it's a cold call or somebody you don't know, if they recognize you or seeing you, they feel like they know you.
A little bit of reference.
Yeah.
And that little bit of reference is similar to the old way of doing business where I say, hey, Tom, you should meet my buddy Mike. He's a really good realtor. Now Mike is kind of doing that already. If you're seeing some of his social, he's building credibility with you almost like a third-party referral. Yeah. And that's a stretch, but it is similar.
Yeah.
Right? And so once I recognize that, I'm like, okay, I get it. We've got to do this. And I think most people feel like I feel. Like, I don't think I'm some genius about it. I don't think I'm super gifted on screen or anything. But that keeps people from doing it. And the other thing that I'll tell you about social, because I've learned a lot, is that it's a mix of good content, but it's actually the personal content that gets them to watch it, because that's the dopamine hit.
Sure.
And then when you do post something decent about business, like I posted just on Instagram, it was like 8,000 views, where my girlfriend's, one of her best friends says, I want to do something special for your birthday. I want to come over and cook you a 4-course meal to you and the entire family. And it was a great night. And I just thought, what a simple idea for someone that likes to cook, to show appreciation for someone's birthday. Yeah. So I did a picture of the food and the menu. 8,000 people, like, that's a great idea. And I just, a little story like, hey, I just thought this was a cool story. Oh. Because sometimes I get stunned, like, hey, it's Mike's birthday. Let's do something special for him. Sometimes, why don't I'm a good cook. I'm to do groceries to your house and we'll cook dinner together.
Yeah.
But then, some of those people that watch that, because that's a personal story, and then maybe they watch 10 seconds of a business story. Yeah. And so you got to mix those all. Yes.
Well, and one last component that I think is probably has been the most important. Now, don't get me wrong. I think the calls, the meetings, all that's great. The social media is great. But I'll tell you what I've enjoyed the most is, keep in mind, Todd runs a mortgage company. Like, this is not his primary job, right? His primary job is to run the mortgage company. He gives his time. We've got coaching that happens every other week. Every other week, Todd gives us an hour of his time where he's coaching us. And for those of you that have never been coached by Todd before, he's one of the best coaches in mortgage or real estate and such as in sales. So we get that time where we're working on our skills. We're working on getting better at talking to people. We're working on better at, not being I think what the industry stigma is, where it's just like we got our hands out. We're actually doing things for people and bringing value to them. So that part has been one of the best parts of Joel, in my opinion. And I think you can tell the other students that are on there, the other clients that you have on there, they are like zoned in because they're not getting this from where they're currently at, or maybe they're not coaching. This is a form of, it's kind of like a coaching program with a lot of added benefits to it.
Yeah, it's so the idea is coaching combined with done for you. So we're doing coaching, which is great. You guys, the coaching aspect is great, but being able to do stuff for someone where hey, we actually have a whole laundry list of activities that we do every single week, month, day for you, that's a magic combination.
Yeah.
So I appreciate the compliment, I would also say with that, I'm going to say this and then I'm going to give you something to think about. So my statement is most people in mortgage and real estate, I think their sales skills are a 2 or a 3. And that's going to sound abrupt and hurt people's feelings. But what I want you to think about, and most of us have had this reference, if you've ever seen someone in a sales setting, inside or outside of our business, and they're just masters, right? Like you guys have both been top producers for years and years, but you told me last night you were doing someone watched you do your buyer's loan presentation. And he's like, I've never seen something like that in my life, and I've been doing this 20 years. That's what I'm talking about. Just really immature sales skills. If you've ever seen, so I have a friend of mine who she has a doctorate from Harvard in cybersecurity, AI cybersecurity. She wanted me as an expert in finance to attend a pitch that she was doing for this big company to be a consultant. And I watched her. I'm like, dude, I can go down the list of all the things they teach you in high-level sales skills, and she did every single thing. She was dressed to the nines. She did the takeaway close. She started the meeting. She says, I only work with 3 clients in the nation. That was her opening comment.
Right away.
Was scarcity right away. Confidence. Just the checklist, right, of things that people. She got very vulnerable at one point. She went through a really hard time 4 years ago in her life, and she almost made him cry. Like you could see people tearing up. I'm like, this girl is a master. She's right, but she was in professional sales for years before she got her doctorate, and so she had those skills, and now she's using those skills to influence people. And my point is that I think this new world demands a lot more. Like our skills have to grow, and you really do have to spend some time doing it, right? Intentional time.
Well, either way, revolutionizing the mortgage industry, and with the goals of 250 closing 10, you're on your way.
Well, we had, so we started last year, we had 43 loan officers. You were 2 of them in that group. They increased their business 70% in a year. That was the average.
Yeah.
Now, just in truthfulness, the average was all over the place. We had some people up 20%, some people up 250%, but the average for the group was 70%. I think we had 2 clients that maintained the same amount of business, like that didn't grow. Yeah. Okay, so where we can take this, I think, is different for the industry, because as long as I've been doing it, it's been Lone Ranger mentality. I've got to do everything.
Yep.
And if we can bust out of that and we can be open to a group of people helping us add more value to people and more contacts, that's the magic. Yep. And that will always work.
Yep. Well, I got to say, thank you. Yes. One of the things that, I kind of forced Tom to get in, but what it's done for me, what it's done for Tom, what it's done for just our businesses has been amazing. So not only as a coach and a leader of our company, but, as a friend, like, thank you for pushing us in that direction. And quite frankly, like, it was rusty at first, but I think we're starting to tighten the screws up, and we're starting to find what works and what doesn't.
Yes.
I'm glad I was one of the guinea pigs.
That's right.
One of the OG guinea pigs out of it all.
We track everything, and I'll tell you, it's like anything else where some things worked a lot better than we thought they would, and some things didn't. We track everything so we can see the results week to week, almost instantaneously, and we tweak it every week. But I would tell you, one of the things that I don't think people think about is if it is the repetition that people get. If you're getting another 15 to 30 meetings a month, your repetition, it's kind of like, to use a cream, let's say someone never knew how to fight, and you now have 20 fights a month, like fist fights in a ring. You're going to figure that shit out.
Yeah.
Like you're going to figure out, you're going to improve your skills because you have to fight up 20 times a month. Or you could take it to a golf and any analogy, but repetition. Someone said this a long time ago, and I always forget the quote, but the quote is something like, repetition is the key to mastery.
Yeah.
You just got to do it. And I think that's part of the reason that we're seeing successes. People are a lot better at influence than they were a year ago because they've had 150 meetings, right? They just get better.
Well, and I'll tell you what, I'm a firm believer that massive activity breeds massive results. So even if you're getting stood up on some of these meetings, even if people like, it's really, if you look at our business as just a straight numbers game, that's all it really is. And that's not how most people, I think, in the industry look at it. They look at it backwards. They're looking at it from the, how many deals did I got going on this month? They're not looking at how many opportunities that I had to get those deals. So I think was the shift in mind, is that it is hard. Like, I hate cold calling. I hate doing the things that you guys do for us. And so, it's just been amazing to watch it for them. And I know it's only going to get better over time here. And I know Tom, I can speak for him too, but we're just very grateful that
Well, I appreciate you guys being leaders in it, because now, we're seeing a lot of people, like I shared with you guys, we don't, like, loan officers that want to do this. There's 3 of them we're talking to in this area. I haven't gotten them to yet because we're still not there yet, but it'll attract some people and grow your branch over time. We just had 2 loan officers last week join 2 different branches, both really good producers. One guy does 3.5 loans a month, and another guy was averaging 7.
Wow.
And they're doing it because they're attracted to this. They talk to the clients. They see something different. And I do think that all businesses are going through a revolution. Like, because it's not just the economic changes and it's a harder market. That's one reason. But how consumers find people is also changing.
Yeah.
Like, there's a big fight right now. If you type in who's the best realtor in Chicago, you'll get an answer. There's a big fight for that right now. Like, who's the best loan officer? I had one of my loan officers get $1 million deal because ChatGPT said that she was the best loan officer in that area.
Yeah.
And I was like, you did? She says, yeah, I closed it.
Nice.
I'm like, well, how do we do that again?
Yeah.
So things are changing, things are morphing, and it can't be this, hey, like when we all got in the business, and I don't know if you'll agree with this, really in the very beginning, you just needed 2 or 3 realtors to send you some business.
Sure.
You were doing 2 or 3 loans a month. And those same metrics are very different today.
Yeah.
And the reason they pick you is very different.
Yeah.
And I think if we go into this with eyes wide open and we have a program that solves most of those problems, that's the magic. And I think it'll be revolutionary in some ways, but also just do it with a small group of people so that you can really do it right and maintain the quality so that people really get the results. I don't know if it's something you could do for thousands of people. Like that would be a lot.
Yeah.
So our mindset is, hey, add 3 people a month to it and really cater to them and make sure that all their stuff works and get them lots of appointments. And at the end of the day, if we're able to get the loan officer a lot of appointments, they're not only going to make more money, they're going to be happier in their lives.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that may sound altruistic, but when you're in 100% commission sales and you feel like you're progressing and making money, you're good.
Yeah.
Right. But when you're not,
You're not good.
you're not good. And I had a friend of mine outside the industry. I was at a social party, and I know the guy. He's an acquaintance, but I really like him. And he says, "Well, how's the mortgage business?" I said, "Well, I have dealt with a lot of." Become a pretty good psychologist over the last 4 years. And he kind of laughed. He's like, what do you mean? I said, well, when someone goes from making $500 grand a year to $100 grand a year, you feel like a failure. And we've got to find a way to get people back to, and it's more than just, hey, go get them, buddy. There's got to be real activity that happens in order for that to take place. And a lot of times, I will get criticism. Probably my most common criticism is they say, Todd, you tell people don't have so many emotions. I don't say don't have emotions. I say the work is like, do the work, whatever the work is, even if it's Jolt doing a lot of that work, to feel better.
Yeah.
But don't just feel bad and be stuck in self-pity, because that doesn't work.
Yeah.
So,
Well, good stuff. And realtors, watch out. This is coming to you eventually too, I promise. But if you guys aren't following Todd, what's your handle on Instagram?
I think it's at Todd Scrima, SCRIMA. So TODDSCRIMA.
Perfect. And then his podcast is the Mortgage Podcast. I listen to it all the time. It's fantastic. So if you're looking for some just good nuggets, that podcast is designed for loan officers that want to do 10 closings a month.
Yeah.
That's it. So if you're struggling with your getting up to that number, listen to that podcast. That's phenomenal. I think we're now officially on Spotify and getting ready to post on Apple Podcast here soon. But guys, thanks for tuning in today. Todd, it's a pleasure to have you here in the city.
Thanks, guys. Pleasure's mine. You got to act today. We got act from 8 in the morning till 11 o'clock at night.
Go.
Thanks for having me, guys.